Big mix-up and a shake-up in the UFC women's division coming down today, with Ronda Rousey announcing that her next fight is going to be against Holm, which honestly is a big surprise because if you go back and you think about the last Miesha Tate versus Jessica Eye fight, which was on the UFC on Fox, which was the home of the Dillashaw versus Barao #2 fight. That was sort of billed as what was supposed to be a #1 contenders for the women's division match. And basically, it didn't matter if Jessica or Miesha got the win. The one who got the win was going to move on and fight Ronda Rousey. Out of this, Holm, who is a newcomer to UFC, who is a professional boxer and also has some background in kickboxing, is going to be moving into the #1 contender shot. She is undefeated in the world of MMA, having 3 fights for UFC dating back to 2015, beating, I apologize, 2 girls. And these 2 girls are Raquel Pennington and Marion Renault. Basically, these fights were looked at as fights that were going to break Holm into the women's division, but I'm very surprised that it is shooting her up to being the #1 contender, especially after it was basically said on commentary that Miesha Tate would be getting the next shot against Ronda Rousey, but Ronda has gone in a different direction for UFC 195. Ronda Rousey has basically said that she has 2 fights left in UFC before she's going to go off and pursue other interests. The fight is going to be taking place January 2nd, 2016. There was some talk about the big fight, which would be Dallas Cowboy Stadium, which would have been the home of a Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor fight, looking to break all kinds of box office as well as pay-per-view buy rate records. But today, Ronda Rousey, she was on Good Morning America, and is a big surprise to everyone, shot lightning bolts through UFC in the mixed martial arts fighting world. Holm honestly is not as big of a name as Miesha Tate is. Miesha Tate has a background of fighting Ronda. They fought once in Strikeforce, as well as their last fight, which was UFC 168 in December of 2013. Basically, Miesha Tate is the last person to really put up a fight against Ronda Rousey. If you look at Ronda's fights, the last 2 fights have barely lasted a minute, only 1 fight going over. But the Miesha Tate fight, Miesha was able to push Ronda all the way into the 3rd round before she was defeated 58 seconds into round 3. But that submission came due to the arm bar. But this is probably one of the biggest fights when it comes to Ronda Rousey. Everybody's looking at what the angle is going to be that UFC is going to portray as this person has a way to beat Ronda. When you think about what was said about Ronda by Brock Lesnar when he was on UFC, is that basically she was the king of her class of women, just with nobody that is able to stand up and give her any competition. But Holm, with her background in boxing and kickboxing, is probably going to hit Ronda as hard as she's ever been hit before. But I think that Holm is just going to be another mark on Ronda Rousey's post of the UFC octagon. I think that it's just going to be another quick one. It's done and it's over. I don't give her any credit to beat Ronda. I hate to see what the story is that they build to this, but as of right now, I don't think there really is a story. Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. This weekend is probably going to be one of the biggest UFC extravaganzas of the whole year, with Holm going up against Ronda Rousey on UFC 193. Honestly, it seems like this fight was booked a long time ago, and it just sort of snuck up on me. I just had no expectation that this weekend was going to be the big Ronda Rousey fight. My buddy Justin told me last night, and I really was shocked. I know that Ronda Rousey has said that UFC 193 more than likely is going to be her last fight until at least UFC 200, if not after that. She has been planning on going, and she's been doing some outside interests out of UFC, where she says she wants to disappear. She did fight 3 times. This year, beating Kat Zingano, beating Beth Kochia, in February and in August. So, she has been highly publicized by UFC, putting her out there. We know that Ronda Rousey's days in UFC's more than likely are done. She's probably going to have this fight and maybe 2 more fights after this, and that might be the end of her UFC career. I don't think that she has interests of going out there until the day she loses. I think she's gotten to a point where at 12-0, she thinks she's done just about everything there is to do in UFC. This current month, she was put on the cover of Ring magazine, which is a boxing publication, which she was able to keep her ongoing feud with Floyd Mayweather going, where Floyd Mayweather was able to say that he thought it was bad for the sport of boxing to have somebody like Ronda Rousey on the cover of the magazine, no matter how popular she is in the world of UFC. I know that people will always debate Floyd Mayweather versus Ronda Rousey. There's no way in the world that this fight is ever going to happen. I don't think that there's a chance that it's hard to say who's going to win, the grappler or the boxer. But I mean it's what's been debated for years. But I don't think we've ever actually talked about who would win a fight between a guy and a girl before. And I don't think that fight's ever going to happen. But with this fight coming up with Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm definitely is the best sort of stand-up boxer that Ronda Rousey has ever faced. Even though Holly Holm hasn't looked great in her victories for UFC, I don't know. Ronda is somebody who has gotten a lot better at her stand-up as well, being able to knock out Alexander Davis as well as Beth Kochia, instead of just using the armbar over and over and over again in all of her fights. Though she knocked out Sarah McMahon as well, so I mean she's got 3 knockouts. So I don't think of Ronda Rousey as being somebody who's going to change her game in order to make herself look better. I think that she's going to, if the fight presents itself as a stand-up fight, I think that she'll stand there and throw punches. But I think if she has her way, I think she would more likely like to have the fight on the ground, where she'd have a chance to put that arm bar on, as we've seen so many countless times. I think that's the way the fight's going to go regardless. Ronda Rousey's going to get the win over the Holly Holm. I just think that Holly Holm is coming in underprepared. She did not make the mistake that Beth Kochia did, where Beth Kochia basically was running her mouth, really insulted Ronda, and Ronda took it to the point of saying that the fight was now personal instead of just being for business and going out there and having a sport. It was actually going to be where she was going to toy with Beth Kochia, and she wanted to actually beat the living piss out of her to the point of getting revenge for the things that she said. And when the fight came down to it, it went 34 seconds. So if she really did toy with her, and she really did put more pain on her than she was going to if it was a normal fight, who knows how short that fight would have went. But honestly, in my opinion, Miesha Tate is the only person to ever take Ronda out of the 3rd round. I would be really surprised if this fight doesn't go 1 round, and then we'll have the debate again if UFC is worth the money, knowing that you're putting all that money down to watch 1 fight. I know that a lot of people are talking about the Bigfoot Silva fight, which is going down on that card as well. But that is the only fight that you're really paying for, is Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey. Are you willing to pay the money for the car crash in order to see the 30-second bonanza?